Located at Mountaintop Letterkenny, they are the best in the northwest to get a quality bed or mattress. Come visit them today and wake up feeling rested and refreshed. Rest Hex Beds, Mountaintop Letterkenny.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
The DL Debate with Sister Sarah's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9 p.m. daily in Sarah's Kitchen. And there's free admission entertainment every weekend.
Check this.
Welcome one and all to the DL Debate. Thanks so much for tuning in. Good man, Kevin's keeping me right here on the nose. Good start there, Kevy boy. Yes, welcome to DL Debate. I'm here with Kevin Fury, as ever, producing and keeping me right, as you've just heard there. Coming up on the show this evening, another packed show, of course, as we round up all the GA in Donegal and across the northwest. We're going to discuss, of course, Donegal's victory in the open round of the All-Ireland Series away to Clare. I'll also be speaking to the minor ladies football manager Declan McDermott after his side's impressive victory over Down in the Ulster Championship final, 5-11 to 1-5. Well done to himself, his background team and all the girls. We'll shoot the breeze with him. We'll also hear from minor football manager Luke Barrett after his side's defeat in Killyclogher in the semi-final of the Ulster Minor Football Championship. They give it their all on the day, just come up short. We'll also hear from GA correspondent Jerry McLaughlin, who has been ranting and raving to me about penalties and how the Ulster final was disgraced. It was decided on penalties. I wonder what your view is on that. 086 60 25,000. We're going to start to open up the text debate in the next few weeks. If you want to WhatsApp us or text us in on your views on penalties, myself and Jerry, and of course the man I'm looking at in studio now, former county great from Leave Connell and Donegal, John Gildea. John, welcome to the DL Debate.
Thanks, Brendan.
John, great to have you on. As I say, we're going to get that bit of debate with Jerry. We're going to talk about Donegal football shortly. Just a mention, of course, to your hurlers. They're in the All-Ireland final now in a couple of weeks' time. Nicky Rackard, they had a shadow box game in Letterkenny at the weekend. We started our top team and went into a huge lead, and I think Wicklow then brought on their team. We took off ours, and listen, I think the scoreline was kind of irrelevant in the game. The big one now is the Nicky Rackard in a few weeks' time. I'd encourage you to get up and support the lads. That's the hurling. Now the football, I say, after a few tight weeks with Donegal in terms of their last couple of league games and getting relegated, and the defeat to Ulster, we headed to Clare with, I suppose, not the greatest of hopes, certainly that we could win the match, but where the season was going, and after a poor first half, we had 11 shots and goals. We only had 3 points, 6-3 down. It was looking poor, but certainly the boys rallied brilliantly in the second half, John, and it's a lift that the boys needed. Big players stood up in the day.
Yeah, it was a nice turnaround. As you said, the first half wasn't pretty, to say the least. And I think, whatever went on at half time, they came out a transformed team and really went at it in the second half. I think to the outscore, was 11-3 in the second half, which was a great turnaround. And listen, that can happen in the sense, you go down to Clare, it's a long journey, you're not used to playing them, you don't know their style of play, etc., etc. And obviously they're coming off the back of what would be considered a poor season, so confidence is low. And you could see that in the first half. There was a lot of mistakes made. We owed an awful lot to Sean Patton in that first half. He was exceptional from both a kicking standpoint and just a pure goalkeeping standpoint. And it could have been much worse at half time. But, they rode the storm and they came out and finished very strong, which, if you just took the second half in its own right, you would say a very strong, competent Donegal performance, which was nice to see. Yeah,
that save of Patton's from Sexton, John, obviously the team at that stage is still caught in a wee bit of a cloud, and you know yourself that I suppose that world of one, and I suppose that bit of fear in the game is in you. Should we have went 5-6 points behind, Clare were playing very defensive by and large, it could have got very sticky for us. So Patton's save absolutely vital. And you mentioned the players that stood up. He was one of them. His kickouts, it was just, I was coming back from Oma Some of kickouts you could hear from Martin McHugh just was like absolutely phenomenal. You know, literally clipping the fingers of Clare midfielders and landed in Donegal hands.
Yeah, and I think Clare's tactic early on, and I was listening and watching at the same time. I was listening to Martin, and he was asking why Clare weren't pushing up on Patton's kick-out. And on the 3 or 4 occasions they pushed up on Patton's kick-out, he hit 65, 70 yard passes directly into on-running men, and we kick scores from it. So it just shows you how important goalkeeping is, and how important having a keeper of that ability that's able to clip ball long and short. But in the second half we had a lot of big performances, from men that maybe we didn't have so far. Felt they really stood up, which is a good thing. Hugh McFadden had a big hour. Kieran Thompson had an exceptional game. Keelan McGonigal, young Gallen, men really, Owen Ban, we were pushing, and that's what you need. When the chips are down, you need your leaders to stand up. And these men, we've been looking at them. They've been thereabouts. They've more experience maybe than some of the younger lads that come into the squad. So, my big thing this year was not so much how we started the year, because we've lost a lot of leaders. We lost the Lacey's and the McGee's and the Murphys and all that type of stuff. And then what you're left is with guys that are good players but have never had to assume that leadership mantle. And that doesn't happen overnight. And I said that months and months ago. You develop that, and you develop it through necessity. And what we've seen in the second half was that those men stood up, which was very encouraging.
And it's no coincidence Jason McGee comes on, John, and starts that revival. And again, it's not to say that you can't really have, I suppose, leaders has to come maybe from the spine of the team. But like you anchored the set there, if you were on your game, holding it, you would take the hit, you'd get us out of trouble, you'd kick pass up the pitch. Like people, it has to be those central players that kind of do that, and players with experience, not obviously everybody in their shape comes in and out, but by and large a lot of them boys you're talking about will operate in the middle. So it's them that's and given the defensive shape, and then it's them that's in the kick out, or it's them then that's breaking forward, and they're in them areas where then they can allow the release to Jamie Brennan or an Oisin Gallen, and on top of that as well, I suppose Sexton, which was their main man, Brendan McCole. I've been watching him this year. I thought Johnny had really stepped up as a player the previous season, and I know it was a tough year for Donegal, but it was fantastic to see him because he was isolated a lot in this game. And every team has always one outstanding, in particular marksman. You look at it the next day, it's going to be Shane McGuigan. So it's very important to see that side. So that's another man that's become a pivotal kind of central player, that leader type game. Yeah,
and he has that dogged trait that you need to be playing in the full back line. Like it's not the most glamorous place in the world. You're constantly trying to stop players from playing, and as you said, he's very exposed. If he'd been playing for Donegal maybe 7-8 years ago, he wouldn't get the same type of exposure that he's getting right now, because structurally there was much more support from the middle of the park, the half back line, half forward line, etc. So there was a lot of one-on-ones, particularly in the first half, and that's when we really struggled. Like, he was given a torrid time in that first half, and the game changed in the sense that we had much more of the ball in the second half, so therefore there wasn't as much ball in the Clare half. Plus, as well as that, structurally we set up more sound, we got back a little bit quicker, there was more energy. The whole thing lifted. And I suppose there's days things don't go well for you, and you cannot kick the points, and you won't catch the high ball. But when you bring that level of energy that was lacking in the first half, that was there in the second half, you're in the hunt all the time. And there's times throughout this year that we've had a bit of energy, and then there's other times we look very lacklustered, and then what happens is the crowd get on your back, and you're not trying or whatever, even though you may be trying. It just doesn't look the part. But in that second half, the intensity level went right up, and that's what I liked about it. Their backs were to the wall. They're down in Clare. We've had a terrible 6 or 7 months. All shapes and sizes. Everything that could go wrong has gone wrong, and it showed a lot of heart and a lot of grit and a lot of leadership to go, no, this is not going to happen today. And that's what happened in that second half. And we had big performance with 5 or 6 of our main men, and we dragged everybody else with us, so it was very, very encouraging. Yeah, it's interesting. You talk about, obviously we had one competitive game now in 8 weeks. You look at it that way. We beat Fermanagh and Westmeath in challenge games, and you're wondering then about Clare. Like, you're looking at Clare versus Down. Obviously Down very unlucky not to go up. Clare got relegated, got into it, but they're obviously playing regular there. So was that first half performance maybe
part to do with the confidence being low, but part to do with we hadn't been playing one game in 8 weeks. I mean, would you explain a bit later in the first half that we maybe just kind of found a rhythm a bit in the second half as well? And if we had had that first half, then we could have really hammered Clare, you know?
Yeah, but I think mostly comes down to just a state of mind and confidence. Like, it's very hard to go down, declare, not know what you're expecting, and have all this negative baggage coming with you. Like, it just weighs on you, no matter who or how confident of an individual you are. It just wears you down, both from an individual perspective, but then also from a team perspective. And you just don't know what to expect. And we got in at half time, luckily 3 points down, realistically. And then it was a case, well, do we roll over here now and go back with our tail between our legs and getting beat by Clare, down in Clare, which would have, let's not make any mistake about it, would have been an absolute disaster. Or do we knuckle down and not let this happen and show what we're made of? And thankfully the latter of that was true, and it was, as I said, it was very encouraging. I was delighted for the players themselves, because you know, and I know, having been there, they're not putting in any less effort than they did 5 years ago or 10 years ago when we were 1-0 Ireland. The effort is exactly the same, and maybe even more so. The sacrifice is exactly the same. And I know we can be very critical in players. You know, we're not winning this and we're not winning that, and that comes from the fact that legacy issues that we've won a lot over the last 10 years. But they've sacrificed their lives. They're training 5, 6, 7 days a week. They're travelling the country to play games, and you know, having that bit of positivity right now, given the fact that they've beaten Clare, is probably the reward for the work that they've put in over the last 8 weeks. Yeah. And from that perspective, it's good for everybody.
Yeah. And listen, we had 5 debutants as well in that down game, and these lads are coming through now. So you know, you're playing for Donegal. We've had a bit of a low point. We still got to back them and support them. And I have to say, well done to management as well for whatever maybe they said at half time. John made it a big part of playing. And after the match, we caught up with Paddy Bradley, who's a coach with the Donegal team. Here's what he had to say.
Paddy Bradley, good second half performance today. How do you sum up that one to start the championship, the All-Ireland series with a victory?
Just delighted to get the result, because we've obviously been on a bad run the last while. But look, after the down game, the boys returned to training in the Wednesday night at Convoy, and put the head down and worked really hard, and that's the reward for that. I think we were probably in a sticky enough place at half time. But to be fair, nobody had the head down. We knew we had plenty of possession and we had created enough chances, but we maybe just were shooting from the wrong areas and maybe the wrong boys on the ball. So we talked about composure at half time, and I think we showed a lot of that. You know, the likes of Kieran Thompson, Jamie Brennan, big Keelan McGonigal, Luke McLinn come on, get a score. Oisin Farah stepped up there. So just delighted for the boys and delighted to get the campaign off with a win.
And I suppose when you're playing games like this, you need your men, you need your shooters on the ball, and Oisin and Kieran particularly stepped up to that challenge in the second half.
Well, look, and then 2 men in general. Like, Oisin's obviously had a hard time with injuries, and we've tried to manage that, and he hasn't played much football. He was probably a bit rusty again in the first half, snapped at a few chances. Kieran himself missed pre-season and whatnot with an injury, but you know, the more he trains and the more game time he gets, he's starting to, you know, look like the Kieran Thompson of old. So there's serious leadership within the group, and that might sound funny given the bad run we're on, but you know, a hell of a lot of them boys carried injuries into the season and missed pre-season and have missed different parts with different niggles and that. So it's great to have them leaders in the field, like even from Sean Patton in goals, who I thought was immense today. Obviously the big save he had the first half kept us in the game.
I think he was involved in 2 of the points in the first half as well.
And look, and his kicking then towards them was fantastic. Like, Clare obviously gave up a lot of kickouts, and he was funny chipped them away, which is easy to Sean. But whenever we were trying to force the issue, he went long with 2 or 3 and, you know, found the target every time, and more like the Sean Patton we know.
They started to panic when they were pushing up, and they knew that the long kick was going to cause them problems. But the other side of that was Donegal never panicked in that second half, and when you hit the front, you controlled the game, so you did.
And you know, it's funny because it's nearly as if we were in that position loads of times this season whenever we haven't been. But look, you know, the confidence and the training has been excellent. Like, that's one thing I'd say about these boys. They're a very resilient bunch, and they're very, very disappointed about obviously the National League and about the down game, but it doesn't deter them from coming to training every night and just giving their best. They've serious belief in what they're about, and you know, they've serious hunger and the desire to do well for Donegal. And say, I'm just delighted that all the hard work sort of paid off today. But look, it's only 1-1. You know, the group's going to be tight. All the groups are going to be tight. We have to go and try and back it up against Derry. That's going to be a new challenge. Derry obviously are coming off the back of a second Ulster title. They're going to be buoyant, but we have them in Ballybofey, which they have a pretty good record in. So look, we've 2 weeks to work on that. So I say just we'll enjoy tonight.
Will you have many players back from injury for that Derry game, or is it going to come too soon? I'm looking at a man just over your shoulder here, Patrick McBurty. What's the story with the personnel who are injured?
Well, Patrick's very far on in terms of the rehab. He's at the final stages. Whether or not he'll be in contention for the Derry game, I don't know. Obviously, with the nature of the injury he had, having obviously an operation, have to take medical advice on that. He's ramping up his rehab every week. Derry game might be a wee bit too soon, but if not, Derry would hope to see him probably against Mullen for some game time. But look, again, he hasn't even integrated into full training yet, so we'll have to see how that goes. The likes of Jason McGee obviously come on today and get a half there, which is obviously a big bonus.
It was important in the second half.
It was, and I thought he had hands on a lot of ball and made really, really good decisions. He's going to be important to the team. So Luke McGlynn, even under 20s, we obviously missed a wee bit of our campaign because he was involved with the 20s and he's been in and out of our training. I thought he was excellent whenever he went on, kicked a lovely score too. So the panel's getting stronger. We obviously know the men that we're missing long term, and it's disappointing, but we can't dwell on that. We have to try and move forward, and I thought, as I say, the boys done that today.
Can I just ask you one final question? You're going to go into the Derry game obviously as underdogs, but there's no pressure on Donegal in this championship, so would you agree with that maybe more pressure might be on Derry getting into the game?
Well, I suppose Derry will have to take care of Monaghan first, see how that goes. They're obviously favourites to win the group. They're coming off the back of 2 years of serious progression. They're a top quality side. You seen that last week. I was actually commentating on that game down there, and even whenever they weren't at the best, they were still fitting won an Ulster title, so that just shows you how strong they are. It's going to be a difficult challenge, but look, generally there's never much between Derry and Donegal, even back as far as days whenever I was playing. So look, we'll prepare accordingly. We'll look at Derry, we'll look at the strengths, we'll look at where we can maybe hurt them, and we're really looking forward to 2 weeks because we're buoyant after that victory of the day.
What's it going to be like for a Derry man going up against his own county?
I suppose whenever you take on the job of even managing a different club or a different, there's the possibility that you will come across your own club or your own county, and it's part and parcel of management. My hat's firmly in the Donegal camp, and I'm really looking forward to preparing the team in the next 2 weeks to put our best foot forward against Derry.
Yeah, putting the best foot forward. Let's hope so, John. Always a difficult one. You're going in against your own county. I think when you finish playing again, if you're going to get into coaching, these things are going to come up. You're just going to prepare the team. I remember McGyver years ago, actually, when we ended up playing Derry in the championship and his son was playing. Do you remember somebody read an article about it? And I remember he came up and made this big rant before training or after training. He says, first man hits my shot, puts him over the light, I'll shake his hand, as if they say, what he's going clobber them, and that's what I'm trying to do. I didn't think there was any need for that. He was a small enough wee buck, if you remember him half back. But yeah, listen, you're just going to do your job, John. Do we need to give the boys a bit of credit for that performance in terms of how we played against Clare? And listen, can we hope for anything against Derry in reality?
Well, listen, we won the game, and the second half, you have to give them some credit. I don't know what went on in the dressing room or how much involvement they had or whatever, or what exactly happened. I suppose they're kind of in a hiding to nothing in the sense that they're Paddy Carr's backroom team, and there's that whole issue: should they've gone, and then you have a whole kind of a thing out there right now that they're not Donegal men, and maybe we need a Donegal man in there, and there's all sorts of stuff, and they're kind of stuck in this nowhere land where they're in charge, but it's kind of, people see it as a very temporary type fix. So it's a difficult one for them. And they're two good lads, yourself, and good GA men. So it's tough for them. All they can do is prepare as best they can. And as a football county, we are where we are. Nobody's under any illusion at this stage that, to say that if we won All Ireland would be considered a bit of a shock, might be an understatement. In reality,
are Derry All Ireland contenders?
No,
definitely not.
No, there's nobody in Ulster within a donkey's roar of an All Ireland.
That's interesting. Yeah, sorry, Derry listeners. There, you've been shot down. Listen, I get it's a stretch, John, but they have got a lot of the ingredients that. I don't think any of the top teams that would play would certainly think it's a foregone conclusion to beat them. I know what you're saying, it's a long, long stretch. They're certainly the best team in Ulster, but you think when it comes to Croke Park that's not going to work for them?
And listen, I could be proven to be wrong. There's no, I suppose what we've seen from the weekend with Mayo turning over Kerry, nobody's really been tested out there. We didn't know what Kerry were like up until now. We don't know what Dublin are like. Tyrone are hanging around in there. You know, they played Galway. They had a man sent off early. Didn't really get a look at them. Galway again. How good are they? So there's no team you would look at right now and say absolutely this is the team that's favoured for the All Ireland. So therefore Derry have as good a chance as anybody else.
Yeah.
But I just don't think Ulster football is at a standard right now of maybe it was 10 years ago, where the Ulster champions or anybody would definitely be in the mix. And then Tyrone proved me wrong a couple of years ago when they came out of the blue and they won All Ireland that maybe they didn't even expect to win themselves.
Yeah.
So you can't write anything off, but judging from that Ulster final and judging from the calibre of football that's been played elsewhere, will they make it difficult for teams? Absolutely. I still think they're missing one or two marquee players, and if you shut down one or two of the big Derry players, then they become very limited. And that's my opinion. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't know.
Yeah, they are working on it, John. I think their squad's improved this, particularly McAvoy at full back, and even like Lochlan Murray and these boys are coming on. McGuigan is got better and better, and he is just an unbelievable talent. They seem a small bit limited going forward, but there seems to be a backup of scores from range that they have as well. Listen, their game is very much contained and hit. Now they have opened up the way they push players up in the forward line, the four players going inside, going into the end line. And last year it was just wide they were trying. Now they are trying different things, but you're right, as yet, John, that tactic at Croke Park has come up short, and whether now they have enough to come through, but certainly what I've seen from their minors the last day, the county is certainly on an upward curve. It's hard to believe, John, looking at it now, and that's why how far it went when you look where it's at now, between their schools and their strong clubs. The fact that Derry could go to Division 4, I mean, it's probably one of the craziest stories we've seen in their time in football, that they could fall that far.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of kind of internal wranglings and politics, and clubs weren't pulling with one another, and men were playing for the clubs, and that was more important than playing for the county, etc. So, and listen, the slip can happen very easy. I remember when I started, like Derry were the team. To beat Derry, you were thereabouts, and then they kind of fell off and they drifted from there. And it's hard to believe the last Ulster title, the one was 98 before last year. But if you look at Armagh haven't won a county or an Ulster title in 15 years, and you and I were fed up looking at Armagh. Every time we turned around, we were getting beat by Armagh. It swings and roundabouts, and I hope we don't go into not that I suspect we'll go to Division 4. That's not what I'm insinuating, but. Again, every county has this wave where you're flying for a certain period of time. We've had an amazing 10, 12 years. Nobody could deny it. We've never seen it before. Yeah. And who's to say we'll ever see it again? And then, unfortunately, what happens is the next crop, you're judged by that success, which is never a good yardstick to be judged against.
Yeah. Well, said at the top of the show, Derry won that final on penalties, John. And we've got a text in from a John D here, Buncrana, saying spot kicks a joke, soccer element. No need to finish a game like that. Jerry McLaughlin is on the line here. Jerry wasn't impressed with this finish of the match. The fact that our premier competition here in Ulster was finished on penalties. Jerry, what's your views on it, Jerry, and what you made of that Ulster final finish?
Yeah, well, it's what they are listening to me now. I think some of my colleagues are kind of going against me, but I think they're kind of winding me up. But at this stage, not. It's funny, an old man said to me, a man in his 70s actually, and he would have been at every Ulster final maybe for the last 50 years, and I was chatting about last week, and he says, and he said, funny, he explained me looking at, but was it kind of logic? He says, Derry didn't win the Ulster Championship. They didn't, he says, it was a draw. They won the penalty shootout. And when you think about it, there's a certain logic in that too. But I think the really important thing, Brendan, about this particular Ulster Championship was there was no reason in the wide world why there couldn't have been a replay, because, just think the crowd that you would have put in through this yesterday in a week to get their bruised sugar. So they could have played the game yesterday before a crowd and made a lot of money. So, Brendan, I just don't see the logic in that. I think it's a kind of it's an unholy rush. And I don't forget it. We're in under cover of COVID. COVID is not as big an issue now. I know they talk about condensed season. I get that, but the GAA should be creative enough to make sure that our premier match, like the Ulster final, is not disrespected like that.
Yeah, but I suppose if you have a rule, regardless of the time frame of that game, that's not going to always be available. So there has to be something to finish it. John Gildea's in studio here with me too. Jerry, you're a fan of the penalties, John, are you?
Yeah, listen, I understand the logic, from a traditionalist point of view, But like the game has changed so much, the rules have changed so much in multiple different facets over the years, some for the better and some for the worse. But what I do think is ultimately GAA, like all sports, about entertainment and it's about drama, and that's a big part of it. And unfortunately, a lot of the games you go to right now don't offer you any entertainment or any drama in any way, shape or form, and that's just where we are right now. But it was an absorbent encounter. Standard football wasn't great at times, and it could have gone anyway. But I thought that the penalties then brought us like a huge kind of climactic end to what was an absorbent contest. So personally, I'm a fan of it. I think hitting the penalties is a skill in the game. It's part of our rules. It's not like we just adopted something. I know that attitude, it's a soccer thing. We hit penalties in games. We've always had penalties in games, and ultimately, as you rightly pointed out, okay, there might have been room, Jerry, this time round to play a replay, but there's so many games right now that are being played. If Derry had played the replay and they would have been playing this Saturday, then they're playing next Saturday, they're playing the following Saturday. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And ultimately, in big games, okay, you think it would be nice to have a replay. Wouldn't it be great to fill out Clonus again? It would have been wonderful. But you can't have one rule for one specific game and then not have rules for other game and look at the overall context of the championship.
Yeah.
And that's why I think penalties make sense.
Jerry, what do you think of that? The drama, the excitement, the penalties, giving us something interesting at the end of the game?
No. I part of what John says I would take, but no, I don't agree with that about it being drama. I call it melodrama. And I'm very surprised that Armagh have lost 2 major matches on fickle thing like that. I'm surprised they're not up in arms about it. John was talking, you can't have different rules at different times, but there have been different rules at different times, John. The GAA have been making this up as they go along. Some counties, you have the county final of a replay. Other counties, you don't. Must finish on the day. But John, if it must finish on the day, and if you have no other option, this would be my suggestion, would be that you would play not one period of extra time, but 2 periods of extra time, and then the next they have a golden score, and that would decide it. That's if you have to.
A golden score like the World Cup used to be, in the golden goal. You'd have a golden score. The golden score is an option, is it?
Yeah, listen, that's a great idea in theory, but we live in an environment where player welfare is hugely important. There's a huge workload in players that it is. You look at the end of an Ulster final, you've played a very physical battle, Armagh and Tyrone. You go into 2 periods of extra time, and then at that stage you have men dropping with cramp. There's all sorts of long-term recovery issues with that, and then you ask them to play another period of extra time and then golden goal. Like it's like it's like when we were schoolboys, do you keep playing until the lights go out and then it's the next score type thing? So there's no, I accept from a traditional point of view, yes, we should go to the replay. That's the way it was. That's the way it was when it was knockout football. You had one game. If a draw, you went. But the whole tournament's taken on, mushroomed into this kind of version that nobody recognises anymore. And like as somebody said, there's no groups of death anymore. It's groups of life. So the championship has spiralled out of control. And because the GAA have allowed the championship to spiral, and for me, it diminishes the championship. Because there's so many chances now to lose.
Yeah. And John, so many penalties as well. But anyway,
Yeah. Listen, talk about spiraling out of control. Kevin's looking at me. I'm way past the ad break. Jerry, thanks for bringing up that subject. We'll talk this out again. We have to take a quick break, and after that, we're going to speak to Declan McDermott, the minor ladies manager.
The DL debate with Sister Sarah's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9 p.m. daily in Sarah's Kitchen. And there's free admission entertainment every weekend.
The wind is our greatest natural resource. We're harnessing it to provide cleaner, renewable energy for homes across the country. Switch to SSC Airtricity and get the wind working for you. Switch today and get 15% off electricity and gas. Switching couldn't be easier. Simply go to sscairtricity.com. SSE Airtricity. This is Generation Green. EAB €3,466.43. Offer from the 15th to the 2nd, 2023. Rates valid from the 1st to the 10th, 22. Subject to change. 1 year standard unit rate discount for new home gas and electricity customers and direct debit and e-bill. For details of EAB, T's and C's, rates, exit fees, standing charges and green energy, see sscairtricity.com.
I've been surfing all morning at FlemingLTD.com to find out about Fleming Doors, Fleming Steel and Fleming Coatings and their full range of products. So come surfing with me at FlemingLTD.com. Fleming, 91 48 234.
Who said electrification can't spark excitement? From introducing Ireland's first EV to redefining the family car, Nissan has always led from the front. And now we're breaking new ground once more with e-Power, Nissan's unique hybrid driving system, fueled by petrol, driven by electric, no need to recharge, giving you the pleasure of electric driving without the need to plug in. New Nissan Qashqai and X-Trail with e-Power. Drive it to believe it at your nearest Nissan dealer. Nissan. Innovation that excites.
A public interest message from Donegal County Council. Donegal County Council are carrying out septic tank inspections across the county and would like to remind homeowners to check the condition of their wastewater treatment systems for signs of sewage overflows, blockages, pools of effluent on lawns or in nearby ditches and streams. Direct all soiled water from sinks, showers, dishwashers and washing machines to the septic tank. But not rainwater. If it hasn't been emptied for the last few years, please get it cleaned out by a permitted contractor who will dispose of it properly. Further details on how to protect your health and environment are on our website, donegalcoco.ie. Donegal County Council, protecting the environment.
Join me, Marty Friel, this and every Friday night from 8 for Rocking Hits on Highland Radio in association with Arena 7 Letterkenny. If you're celebrating a birthday or a work night out, Arena 7 Entertainment Complex has it all. Check out arena7.ie.
The DL Debate with Sister Sarah's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9 p.m. daily in Sarah's Kitchen. And there's free admission entertainment every weekend.
Yes, welcome back to the show. Say at the weekend we gained some silverware in the form of the Ulster Lady Minor Championship, and now I'm joined by their manager Declan McDermott. Declan, how are you, sir?
Hi, Brendan. How's things? All good.
Thanks very much for joining us, Declan, and very well done to you and your backroom team and all the girls there. Phenomenal end to this first part of the season. I know it's a long time now before you'll take up the next game, Dick. So time to enjoy and really look back at a brilliant season so far.
Oh yeah, brilliant. Saturday was absolutely brilliant. The girls really the best performance of the year so far. They've worked really hard since the 1st of April when we played down the first game, and then since that they just picked up the mantle and they've really worked hard. So. The victory on Saturday was brilliant, but I think the performance overall was even outstanding, like from every girl. Only 20 girls got to play, but every girl training's been putting the effort in, and it showed on Saturday what they've been working on in training, and they've delivered, which is good to see. Good for the county, give it a good lift.
Brilliant. Tell me this, you've been involved with these girls now for 4 seasons, is it? I love to hear these stories that you I suppose you know them so well now, their strengths, their weaknesses, the group. You've a great management team in there behind you as well. So great to have that success and that bond with these young girls, because Donegal, seniors are in a bit of a state of rebuild now. So listen, phenomenal for these girls to be coming through having Ulster titles behind them.
Exactly, yeah. Like Liam Skelly got involved about 4 years ago with this girl. They're under 14s, and they've all evolved since then. We've worked under 14 level, under 16 with them. We won the C Championship in under 16 level 3 years ago, and then last year under 16 as well we won the B. So this group of girls have came through right through the ranks, and now they've hit minor level. I know this is the next batch of girls, hopefully, if they keep going to senior level, which is fantastic to see, and gives the county a whole lift the way they've been working hard over the years. And like you say, we've bonded with them, and every one of them have just matured so well and give everything for the cause, for the jersey. So it's brilliant to see.
Yeah.
The places, everything's in place for the girls to really bring Donegal back to the top table again at all levels, and it's working well for us.
Yeah, phenomenal stuff. And Liam Skelly, that's that wee quiet man that lives down beside you, never has too much to say. Is that the same?
Exactly, yeah, exactly. That's the same boy. Yeah.
Oh, he's a good lad. I know Liam quite well. Hey, you've a great backroom team in behind you as well, helping out there. I mean, it's a huge operation. Every county team, and people probably don't realise the amount of people that's got involved. You have some very experienced people in the background as well, helping you out there.
Oh yeah. Like when I applied for the job, started off with myself and Barry Dowd, and then once people got to know what we were doing and asked a few people, Tony Boy came on board, Barney Kern, Sean Boyce, we got Dermot Gunnan on as well, just to help a wee bit of fitness work with the girls. I thought that was just need to be added into which was worked over the winter time. It really helped us. And then Gabriel Geller and Sharon Neeson then as the female members of the team, which was great buzz for the girls as well. Some other figures in there. So it's great to have the experience like Tony has and all the lads as well, and the girls really got on with everybody. Even on Saturday, you could see the bond between the management and the players. It's really, really strong.
Yeah, great memories. Of course, that's my hero you're talking about, Tony Boyle here. I'm sitting looking across at John Gildea. He was a hero to a lot of people as well. Surely. Listen, phenomenal stuff. You haven't got a game now to mid-July, so you have to just keep the girls taking over a few challenge games. Is it in the meantime, Declan?
Yeah. We don't know the 19th of July. We play the winners of the Connacht Championship, which is not finished yet. But with the girls and exams, we've given them a couple of weeks off. Just to recharge the batteries. Like I say, they've put a phenomenal effort the last 6 weeks, so we decided after Saturday we'll give them 2 weeks rest. And the girls do the leaving cert, so that becomes their priority now. And then mid-June we'll pick it up again and give a good 6 week block before we hit the All-Ireland semi-final. But like I say, we're lining up friendlies as we speak. A few calls out with like the Monaghan and all, who won as well the weekend. So it'll be friendlies and back to training.
A couple of spying missions down to Connacht as well then for yourself?
I would say we'll have to like a wee trip down, all right. Definitely. That'll have to be a must, Yeah. But then hopefully Maxie might take a few into the senior squad too, just to help them take over as well, So that's part of the plans as well, to keep everything rolling over,
Listen, Dick, on behalf of us all here, fair play, well done to yourself, the team and the girls there, phenomenal stuff at the weekend, and I want to wish you all the best in the game in July.
Lovely, thanks very much, Brendan.
Cheers, good man.
It's lovely.
Cheers,
thank
100%.
You Cheers, now. Good luck. Bye-bye. Thank you. Cheers, bye-bye.
Fair play to him and all the girls, as I say. Bringing back a bit of silverware. We need good news stories in the GA, and that's certainly one of them. Our minor lads, I say, I was up in Oma in Killyclahur's pitch on Saturday. Great setup there. We had a certain tactical attack at this very talented Derry team, and Luke Barrett, I caught up with after the game. He'll explain that. You'll catch it on this interview. Look, the end of the road, but the lads give it their all in that second half. It was a very spirited performance, but just coming up short.
Really disappointing, Brendan. We spoke all week about bringing it to the last 15 minutes, stay in the game, stay in the fight, and they did that. We probably had more chances in the second half to win 2 games. Fortunate times we got inside the 20-metre line and we didn't take a chances. We had 2 clear goal chances. When you don't take them at that level against the quality of opposition like Derry, they're going to beat you and they're going to punish you. And I felt, albeit the scoreline 9-5 didn't reflect the game, it was much tighter than that there. And for long periods of the second half we completely dominated, but we just didn't take our chances at the time.
Yeah. And you talked about the last 15 minutes. It looked like in that first half we were very much set up to really take Derry in the second half. We were really, really contained, and we never really came into the match in the second half. Maybe we did. It was like a completely different Donegal team. Is that the tactics for today?
Well, look, if you look at the Derry performance over the last couple of weeks, the games have been over at half time. Even our own game, 263 points. So we, listen, 50% of the games without the ball, and people can say what they want about it. The game's never going to go back the way. It's always going to be that evolution. I thought we defended unbelievably. The skill of defending and collective defending today was unbelievable. I think they got inside our 20-metre line for the first time in the 64th minute, when we were pressing the ball. And then the second half, we dominated. We pressed high up in the kick-outs, and we still got into the game, and we dominated the game for long spells that second half, but again we just didn't take our chances.
Yeah, and last week you sent on Danny Brown. He came up with the magic 2 points. He did it again today, and it felt not only his 2 points, the whole team seemed to lift off the back of that. We were back to 6-4 and we were asking a lot of questions, and it felt really the ball off the post from McCall, we had 2 players against 1. If that had fallen to one of our guys, we go a point up and then we're in control of the game.
Yeah, look, even the very first, I think it was the very first attack of the second half, we got inside the 20 and we should have buried that as well. It's very difficult when you see that there, that every kind of ball is kind of breaking towards for them, and I think from that there, Jack Higgerty actually got sent off from that same play as well. So talk about a really poor play, or just unfortunate play. But we had loads of chances. We were taking, we got inside, we were taking chances. We had a couple of 45s, just didn't take our chance again.
Yeah, and McGill Vijay, of course, had 2 two excellent ones against Monaghan, and you're thinking now's the time, because if we get back with a point, you're really putting the pressure on Derry. And as you said, even with Higgerty sending off, we still were asking all the questions of Derry. So, even though Derry pulled away, as you said, the scoreline didn't really reflect that second half look. But you must be mighty proud of the lads' effort they've put in all season.
Yeah, unbelievably proud, Brendan. Listen, we've given everything we have. We've prepared the team as best to our possible ability, and then they can see that as well. And listen, today is obviously going to be a disappointing day for them. They have loads of days left in Donegal jersey, hopefully, and then most of them will, all of them will hopefully go and have really good club careers as well. And listen, we're a development squad, and we hope that we brought high standards to them. We taught them how to train, how to prepare at a really high level, and that's all we can do. And obviously today, if they learn from it, it'll be positive for Donegal football going forward into the 20s. Hopefully, there's a good group of them under 17 again next year as well, so they have that experience as well, and hopefully they carry that hurt.
Yeah, well done to the lads. John, we had a plan in that game. You heard Luke there talking about it. Very, very negative. You're playing a team that has unbelievable talent. So what do? You set up to hit them in the second half. You'd have to say, what do you do? I mean, he's making no excuses for that. It almost worked. We had to get that goal, and there was a couple of goal chances in that second half when we were 2 behind and we were playing really well. And Derry just had that talent, but we had them rocked, But you're playing against the top side. That's what do you do there, John? You have to sacrifice the game for the win.
Yeah, no, listen, I think you got it spot on. Derry are favourites to win All-Ireland, not just Ulster. They're a really top class side and talented all over the park, and if you're looking at maybe pound for pound, they're a better side than Donegal right now at that level, that age group. So, I thought he did a really good job tactically. He looked at where we were, he looked at where they were. Up until the last 10 minutes of the game, we were with a kick of the ball. So, at the start of the game, if you'd have said to him, listen, 10 minutes to go, you're going to be thereabouts, then tactically he got it spot on. All you need is a lucky goal and the whole game changes, and you're having a different conversation this evening. So, I know it's negative, but it's a results business, and he got us so close to that very, very good Derry side, and it didn't quite come off. Yeah. But you got to cut your cloth accordingly.
Yeah, I look at them, John. There's something over bigger than not bigger. There's a part, I suppose, outside of the winning is the progression of the lads. Because there's group phase and that there's plenty of games. So the work that Luke and Brendan and Brian McLaughlin are in there, the work that they're doing in terms of bringing the players through, that's important as well. That the coaching element of you're improving lads, and even though you come up a bit short against Derry, the lads are better players and are going to be better players for that experience. That's important too. It shouldn't be just parked aside. We lost the semi-final and that's it.
Yeah, no, and they had a very good league campaign, and he did rotate through a squad, and there was some really, really good days out. So from their perspective, it was probably, without ultimately winning an Ulster title, it was a very, very positive campaign, and he runs a really good ship. He's I think he's the right age demographic. He can relate to those younger lads. He comes across really, really well, and the management team, has a lot of experience there. So every one of those lads will benefit, and it'll actually help them, as he rightly pointed out, it'll help them go back to their clubs, but it'll also give those boys an appetite to go on to bigger and better things. So you have the under-20 championship, next year a lot of those guys will come through, and then ultimately what you want to see in any minor squad is within the next 3 or 4 years, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 will drift into your county senior setup, and you have that conveyor belt. And that's the ultimate goal, because obviously that's where everybody wants to end up. You want to end up playing with your senior county team. So from that perspective, it was a good campaign. There's a lot of good players there, but ultimately, at that level, you come up against an exceptional Derry side, and they are an exceptional Derry side. They're really, really, really high end. So he had to do what he had to do, and it just didn't quite work out.
The conveyor belt of schools in there and that too.
At that age group, they're very, like Tyrone, there just seems to be this constant conveyor belt with the McCrory Cups and everything else that's going through. There's a culture there of underage success, that even when the Derry senior team wasn't going well, the Derry underage teams were going well.
That's right. Certainly interesting what you say about Luke Barrett there. About how you judge him. He does seem shrewd, he seems like a good manager, very, very together. If we're looking at the future of Donegal football, would you put him in a category of potential senior manager? Is it too soon for him now, or where do you think? I mean, we're looking at options here. From last year, for example, there was not many people were putting their hands up, I mean, we had the situation of the potential Lacey Kavanagh, maybe McGillis in the background, and then a lot of people give off about the process and that it was drawn out and all that, but there wasn't a lot of people looking for them. And I'm looking at up and coming managers in the county. I think a lot of people would like a Donegal manager coming in. Would he be in your possibilities?
I think it might be a bit soon for him, in the sense that there's a huge difference in managing 17 and 18-year-old young lads versus managing grown men with all their associated egos and problems.
You never had an ego.
Everybody who plays county football has an ego some capacity, because unless you go out there thinking that you're as good as what's beside you or better, then you're in the back foot. You know the way it works.
Yeah.
So and plus all that baggage that comes with it, like people have home lives and work lives and all that. So I like the way he manages. I genuinely like the way that he articulates himself and speaks. I think he comes across very assured and very competent and very together. I'd like to see him maybe involved with maybe the next manager, the manager after, so he can get a feel for the setup. Yeah. But he definitely has a lot of potential. He comes across as really assured and confident, and he knows his football. And he's obviously, I would imagine, if you talk to those young fellas, they have a lot of time for him as well. So he definitely has real potential. Do
you think it'd be more a thing we've seen it in other counties, like Desi Farrell, everybody's taking the different age groups right the way through? Declan Boner, of course, went back, took players through. Then he's got, just what I spoke with the ladies manager there, Declan, about the bond. You create a bit of a bond, and then when you come in, then you can bring in these fresh faces to go with the players that's already there. Could that be a path for him if he did well with the 20s now? Would you think he's more ready then, or do you think he has to be involved in a senior team some way first, a county senior squad?
I think it's definitely a step in the right direction, and I do like that evolution where the team grows with you and you grow with the team, as long as everybody's growing. You can have a situation where you can have a manager that just doesn't suit the team. That doesn't seem to be the case here, and it'd be a nightmare if he moved into the under 20 ranks with them if he wasn't the right fit. But there seems to be a genuine bond there between the players and management. So him going through the under 20 category would make sense, and then down the line taking the next step. But I do think we have to encourage homegrown managers. We have to encourage young managers. There's not a lot of young managers floating around. It tends to be you're retired for a period of time. So off that new generation of manager comes through, he's the guy that's putting his hand up and seems to be ticking all the right boxes right now.
Yeah, certainly is a future for him, I would imagine. I'm just got a text in there from Martin Doherty. He says, Golden Point, great idea. Would you take a penalty, John?
Absolutely.
No problem.
No problem.
There's no soccer players ever come out of Glenties.
Martin Doherty just texted in, one of the greatest soccer players that ever.
Do you think that was him?
Absolutely. The only reason he texted in was so that people could tell everybody how good at soccer he was.
Of course, you see, I'm thinking about him playing KU and different teams.
Exactly.
I know. Yeah, until Fintown Harps came along, there wasn't actually a soccer team kind of.
Oh, there was the great Ardra team. Yeah, the Galacticos back in the day.
Was there many Glenties boys in that?
Oh yeah, you had Stephen McKelvey and Martin Doherty, myself. And then
you played in that team?
I played in that team.
I didn't know that.
I played in goals in that team.
Goals?
In goals. They wouldn't let me outfield. Imagine the damage. But listen, Doc was an exceptional soccer player as well as an exceptional Gaelic player.
That might have been him, all right.
So there's a lot of crossover between soccer and Gaelic boys,
Yeah, that's interesting. Hey, you heard about being in goals, but of course we had the Unions night there, John. We had the legends that were. I said I was stuck in the middle of them. You had obviously Big Malloy was there himself talking about our drama, with the Sam was there, Murphy, Kavanagh, McFadden, and Big Neil. You came along as well, John. Bit of an interesting night. Castle Tales to Crow Park.
Yeah, it was. Obviously my better half, the only time that I could ever get into St. Eunan's College was I actually had to marry a teacher in St. Eunan's College. But it was an interesting night. Listen, we went along to support it, a good cause, and obviously Margaret Hassan had put a lot of work into the project, so it was good to support it. I probably left.
We bored you.
No, well, not. You didn't bore me, to be fair. I just think it was a case of, it maybe the night took a turn away from where maybe I originally thought it was going to be. I thought it would be a night of crack and stories, and we'd hear about Big Neil and all that kind of stuff. We
were talking about Donegal a bit too much because it's a bit of a subject at the minute. There's a bit of a cloud hanging over the gate. I don't want to be any way negative, but I thought it'd been wee bit more, maybe crack at it, maybe. Listen, we had a bit of fun. There was a lot of good feeling there, John. See, when I walked into the hotel first, Terry, of course, always is a place well kitted out, and there was a great vibe off everybody there. And I think you'll see that, people you kind of half know, or people you went to school with. It's always great to catch up. And I said that to Margaret, I said, you kind of captured something here now, whether, with it's sporting or whatever way, there's probably a room for a night like that in the year, that unions, ex-unions, people and different people, family will come together.
Yeah, I just think, listen, the whole Donegal thing and where we're at, it's nearly been flogged to death. It is what it is, and everybody wants the best for it, and I get that, and I know there was questions to be asked, etc. But, it was just for the night it was for the college. There was some really good guests there, in the sense that it was, it was a big cast as such, Murphy and Rory and Big Neil and Colm and yourself. I would have much preferred to find out, what Colm and Neil and the boys had got up to at school, and now that they're grown adults, what they're ashamed of and not ashamed of. But we didn't go there. It was what it was. It was a great event for a great cause. It was very well run, as you said. The hotel was great. And that they, so next time round, it'll be even more interesting again. Yeah, there could be a few stories in there yet. But listen, I suppose we have to keep the crowd coming back. That's show business. John, thanks so much for coming up this evening, as ever. Great to get your views. I want to thank everybody that contributed to the show this evening. And of course, I want to thank Kevin Fury, first and foremost, for keeping me right, as ever. I'll get these knobs sorted yet. Kevin, you hang on with me for a while just yet till we get it together. Of course, the excellent Monday night sessions is coming up now shortly. They'll get the toes tapping, and I will speak to you all next week.
Check this.
The DL Debate with Sister Sarah's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9 p.m. daily in Sarah's Kitchen. And there's free admission entertainment every weekend.
McDade's Bathroom Plumbing and Tile Showroom in Buncrana is your one-stop solution for all your bathroom plumbing and tile needs. We offer a wide range of top-quality plumbing fixtures, tiles and accessories, all at the best possible price. Our experienced plumbing experts will help you